what's up, everybody? Thank you tuning in to our channel. Well, my channel. Well, thank you for tuning in. So, if y'all have seen our first video is about how we met, and today we're gonna dive into our interracial marriage and some of the struggles that we had to deal with. From yeah, we want to talk about today about what we face, out there, and our interracial marriage that we have dealt with, and some of the things that we've seen and experienced. So I mean, it's obvious, being black, being white. With some of the things and the difficulties that we had to face. So I'm actually going to let my wife start off first. Some of the what she experienced. Going back to when we when we were getting married, even the day of marriage too.
So like my husband was saying, like going back to when we was dating, we're engaged. Somebody that was close to me, I'm actually not gonna name drop here, but there was somebody that was really close to me and very important. And I just was on a phone call and let them know I was getting married, and it was such a great time, and you're excited to get married, you got engaged and get married, and come to find out that phone call went left. I'm not sure if that's your left or my right, but this is my left. So this phone call went left, okay? Sorry. The phone call went left, and I'm telling y'all, I was very shocked and surprised because the person was giving me like quoting scriptures, so happened, and saying that oh, we should be together, oh, it's just they just didn't agree with the marriage, and like I was just taken back by it. I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't know how to take it or grasp it, or like, especially when somebody's throwing scriptures out to you, I'm like, whoa, like that's not what the Bible say, so I don't lie, it was a hurt piece, and but it wasn't enough to stop my marriage. It actually, anything, it made me want to marry my husband even more, but not just because of that. But I knew what God has said about unity, and like God is not a racist God. So it was very difficult and challenging, but there were times when we would go to my home state. I'm not sure if you had anything to say, honey.
Yeah. So yeah. When we go back to her home state in Pennsylvania, and her being from the north, me being from the south, and from history itself, what you're taught, was like the South is racist, and the North, is definitely like way better. So I perceived it that way too, even living in the South, like, and when I went up to the North, when we went out to eat, it was like predominantly most of the time when we go out to eat, we dealt with like some definitely tension, some very eye looks, stares, and looking at us, like looking at her, especially like, what are you doing, what are you doing with him? And we went out to eat to at least 2 restaurants, and where the server, like, he would not address me. He wouldn't even he would barely even look at me. He would just really address her. So it was definitely very different being up there, and it was a shock to me. Like I thought it would have been more accepted, you know, in the North than it is in the South. But like in the South, it's really accepted down here for a lot. I mean, it's not, of course,
It's perfect
because there's still you know stuff every you know here and there that happens, but like the difference is like it was drastic and very noticeable. And I mean, how many times we go up there, it's like it seems like it's like almost a lot if we go out in public and we're not just visiting family. So it's very so that's some of the stuff that we dealt and faced with.
Cause I went even to like, well, we went to a restaurant one time, and this is why it's so crucial to be in the will of God and to be seeking God, because God gives the Spirit of the Lord gives you discernment, and you just know, so we was in the store one time, and we were eating, and we was eating a lot of eating our food. It was a buffet, and it's so crazy. I just felt the spirit. It was this racist spirit, the spirit of division and racism, and it was so heavy in there. And then when I wanted to get out of that restaurant so fast, it was not even funny. And like, as soon as we left, my husband was like, "Oh man, it felt such tension in there." He said the same exact thing, and like, it was. I mean, we actually didn't even want to go back there anymore because it was just that heavy in there.
It was like, it really felt like, when you were in there, it was like, everybody was like sticking with their own people. It's like, you stick with your own people, I'll stick with my own people. And it just seemed like, at any moment, something like could just clash and, a fight could just snap out at any moment. It was definitely different. Like, I never experienced, something like that. And, especially something like, I'm not usually a person that says like feels and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But with with that it was something that you can really tell that was in there. And definitely different.
Now I want to say feel. It's a spirit of discernment. So that's just.
Yeah, and that one was that we experienced that part down here. In the South.
Yeah.
So we did so as an example stuff that happens, but
it still happens. It actually still happens because there are times when I still get stares and like I get mad faces. I'm like, when I look at my husband, I don't look at like my husband as him being of a different race. And, I'm only reminded when I go out somewhere, like, I'm like, okay, but I kind of got used to it because I'm like, okay, but, I mean, you shouldn't have to get used to something like that, but it's what it is, and it's the time that we're living in right now, I guess. I don't know.
So that's a couple of things that we dealt with and struggled with for with racism or interracial marriage, relationships, type of struggles out there, and and I do want to talk about in one of my other videos, like, is interracial marriage biblical? As what my wife was talking about earlier with some of the scripture that was thrown out to her, and I want to address this part and this question, this issue out there. And of course you can tell, obvious, I don't think it's unbiblical. I do think it's biblical, interracial marriage, and I will go into there and as into why, and I want to go to some of the reasons somebody will say why, and why it's unbiblical, and I'll go that through the lens of Christ, looking what he actually says, and make sure we're faithful to what he says, so denying ourselves and what we want and what actually God says. So that's definitely extremely important how we live our life. So, well, thank you again for watching this video, and stay tuned for our next one. God bless.